didn't have enough dope when he came home, and he burnt me with lit cigarettes and bashed my head open and fractured my eye and broke my ribs and slashed me with knives. I think one of the worst experiences I ever had in prison was when I had a gay woman wanted me, and I didn't want her, and because of the fact that she thought that she was black, she thought it was a racial thing. And so they waited for me at the top of the stairs, and one of my friends, who I thought was a friend, called me out onto the stairs, and she took it very personal and shoved me down 3 flights of stairs, and I had to have stitches on the side of my leg, and I almost caught 60 more days for that.
This is The Bottom Line. I'm Gary Thiemann in Los Angeles. When you're under the influence of drugs and alcohol, it's inevitable you'll make bad choices when it comes to making friends. The following is a real-life story of unthinkable violence, kidnapping, rape, an alcoholic addict spinning out of control within inches of death. Donna Kay. She lived to tell her story.
My name is Donna Kay, and I'm from Lancaster. I'm an alcoholic. I took my first drink at 19 when my son was 6 months old. I went to a bar with a man I had met, and I decided I liked drinking at that point, and drinking became the most important thing in my life over my son. I didn't spend much time at home. I was always at the bars, and then of course the speed and cocaine came into it, and that just livened up the party. And the more I got into all that, the more I neglected the things that were at home, like my son. And then I went from relationship to relationship with men, and each one it got worse. There was always physical abuse as well as verbal abuse. For example, one is where I didn't have enough dope when he came home, and he burnt me with lit cigarettes and bashed my head open and fractured my eye and broke my ribs and slashed me with knives. And another instance is where I was pregnant, and 3 months pregnant, I found an ounce of cocaine, and my husband threw me 3 floors down out of a trailer on my stomach because I had flushed the dope. Another instance is when I was living here, and I was driving to Saugus and Newhall to see my boyfriend, and I went up there, and I was taking him dope up there, and I found out he was in bed with somebody else when I got there, and it pissed him off, and he took me and threw me over my truck and over a washer and a dryer, and tried to run me over, took my socks, my purse, my money, and left me to walk from Newhall to Lancaster with nothing. Took a sledgehammer to my truck, so I had no truck. Those were the type of relationships that I've been in, and the only ones that I've ever been in. I continued to stay with those type of guys, and continued to go through the abuse, and made the decision not to go home and try to be the mother that I should, and try to get help. I didn't feel like there was any help out there for me. I felt like I was a lousy mother. I felt like a lot of guilt, and the more guilt I felt, the more I drank and the more I used drugs. I remember the last night that I was out on the streets, and I had been out selling drugs, and had dropped off a couple of pounds, and it was raining, and I was scared, and I had this real nervous feeling about cars following me and being watched, and all of a sudden when I pulled up to the driveway that I was living in, to this trailer park, there were cars I didn't know, so I knew something was going down, and I got real scared, and I went in. I told everybody to put everything away, bury everything. We had guns, we had all kinds of stuff, and I tried to warn them. They told me I was tweaking. They told me I was out of my mind, and so anyway, nobody did anything about it, and except for what I did, and we all went to bed. And at 7 o'clock that morning, they raided the house. I kicked in the doors and kicked in the windows and came in and took us all to jail. I'll never forget the night that they took me to jail. It was cold, and I was coming down from the drugs and the alcohol, and I had a pair of shorts on and a pair of sandals and a tank top. And they didn't give you any clothes to wear at that point. You had to wear what you had on. And they gave you a towel, and they didn't give you a towel at that time. They gave you a bed and one cover. And they gave you 3 cold meals a day, and the food was terrible. And that went on for about 3 days until you seen the judge. And then once I seen the judge, then he sent me to Civil Brand. And once I got up there, and they gave you uniforms, and it's the same thing as prison. It's just you do what they say to do, or there's consequences to be paid for it. You know, you're hooked up with 200 women in one dorm, and they're all different colors, and they're all different kinds, and they're all different personalities, so you've got a lot to deal with while you're in there. You know, you just try to stay by yourself and stay out of trouble. I think one of the worst experiences I ever had in prison was when I had a gay woman wanted me, and I didn't want her, and because of the fact that she thought that she was black, she thought it was a racial thing. And so they waited for me at the top of the stairs, and one of my friends, who I thought was a friend, called me out onto the stairs. And she took it very personal and shoved me down 3 flights of stairs, and I had to have stitches on the side of my leg. And I almost caught 60 more days for that. And I was lucky that a cop was at the end of the stairs where I ended up at and saw the whole thing. You know, while I was in there, I've seen 3 or 4 or 5 big girls jump 1 or 2 little ones and break their bones and break their hands, and they don't think nothing of it. You know, they stab them and they do whatever they have to do in there, and they don't care. I finished my time, and I came home, and I stayed sober for about 3 years. I went to meetings. I didn't have a sponsor, and I didn't work the steps, and I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I was working 2 jobs. I got my son back. It was me and him living in an apartment. I was doing everything that I was supposed to be doing except for working the steps and going to the programs. That lasted for about 3 years, and then I got back onto the drinking and back into the coke and back into everything. And I hooked up with this man, and I knew the people that to sell the drugs to, and he had the drugs to sell them to. So we kind of hooked up, and we stayed together for a while, and it was still a very abusive relationship. I wanted to leave town. I wanted to try to go get clean, and I wanted to leave town. And he, on the night that I was supposed to be leaving, he grabbed me and dragged me from the street into the house, and I had all my dope inside my pants. And he stripped all my clothes off of me as he was hitting on me and beating me, and he took all the dope that belonged to somebody else in another state, and took it from me, and left me naked and threw me outside the door, and took my purse and my money and made me walk. And then after that, I got into another relationship with somebody else, and it was both a drug and alcohol relationship. It was the same type of relationships. I got tired of the beatings, and I got tired of being accused of screwing everybody and everything. I got tired of him coming in and going through the clothes at nighttime and going and making me take my clothes off to make sure that nobody had touched me, you know, while he was at work. I got tired of him going through and checking the beds to make sure there wasn't any type of evidence of any men in the house through the day. I got tired of him finding little things, any little writings on books or anything, and he would make it into somebody's been here and left their initials and their numbers. It just got to the point that I couldn't handle it anymore. When I was in my drug use, there was 2 brothers. I had sold some dope to a friend. The friend had cut the dope. The friend sold the dope to them. It made him sick. When they came back to him, they told him it was my dope. So he got me over to his house with different pretensions, and the guys were there waiting with a gun and a rope. And they tied me up, and they put me in a car, and they drove me around for hours. And then they took me back to his house, and they proceeded to rape me and shoot me up with all kinds of dope, one after another and after another, and threw me in the shower, raped me in the shower, tied me to the beds. This went on for hours and hours until finally somebody came in and kicked open the door and realized that this is where they'd taken me, and saved my life. After that, I kind of lost it, so I really went back out and into the drinking and the drugging, and these were friends of mine that did this to me. They were friends of mine that I seen on a daily basis. It was just the drugs that had done something to them. After I went back out, I ended up hooking up with somebody I was with for 4.5 years, and It was the perfect relationship right at first. It was just everything. Even though drugs was involved and dope was involved, it was just perfect. He treated me any way that I would ever want any man to treat me. And then it was after about 2 years, I found out that he had been sleeping with my best friend, and I lost it. I took a gun, and I took a gun after them both. And one ended up moving, and the other one I ended up staying with him. And it was nothing but physical abuse and verbal abuse and just over and over and over again. But I wouldn't leave. I just felt like there was nothing better for me out there. This went on for about 3 years, and that's when I had my drunk driving. And I had a half a quart of beer laying on the table that I hadn't finished, and I heard a knock at the door, and it was the cops. And they didn't come in. They just motioned for me to come out. And I said, just a minute. And I downed that half a quart of beer, and I told them I was ready. And they took me, and that was it. I went to prison.
When you think prison, you normally don't think of Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. You think confinement, regimentation, lack of freedom, violence, danger. And while all those events were prevalent for Donna Kay at the time, she thought recovery. Fortunately, in the prison systems in the country, AA, NA, CA, and other 12-step programs are available to people who are trying to get their life together. Donna Kay took advantage of what the system had to offer. After all, she was already at her bottom.
Who would have ever imagined that I would have started my recovery point in prison? The first thing I did when I got in there was try to find out about AA and NA, and they did have meetings. I wasn't in a prison where I was demanded to go to these meetings, so it was very hard for me to get into them. But I did whatever I had to do to try to get into them because I knew I needed help, and I knew that was the only way that I was going to make it. I went to meetings every Saturday morning religiously for 13 and a half months, and I called people on the outside. I had my family send brochures into me, and books into me. I had my dad send the Bible into me. I did whatever it took. And I talked to people. I talked to a lot of people there that had been there for 4 years, 4 or 5 years that had sobriety. I talked to them. I kind of took them on as a sponsor. I tried to work the steps as much as I could from being in there. And I hit my knees and I asked God for help. And I made sure that was on a daily basis, more than once. After I left prison, I paroled September 19th, and September 19th I entered the doors of AA, and I've never left them since. I went in and introduced myself and told them how much time I'd had clean from being in prison, and I got me a sponsor, and I started working very closely with her. I started getting on the steps. I started making my amends. I started doing everything that I needed to do, and I started being of service and started volunteering my time to help others and to help newcomers that were coming in. And now I'm at service every day for them. I'm so grateful that my life is so different than it used to be. I would never want to go back to that way of life again. I work at a club called AA. I work for Alcoholics Anonymous. It's a fellowship that brings men and women and alcoholics and addicts together, and it's some place they can come to work their problems out and try not to drink and try not to use. I feel better about myself today. I get to spend time with my son today, and my son's a part of my life. My grandmother's a big part of my life. My family's a big part of my life, and so is AA. And I know that without AA, I wouldn't have any of it because I wouldn't be sober.
Donna had always known God, but the demons of alcohol and drug addiction took her far away from what she was introduced to at the Church of Christ. A sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous today, God is close to her heart, one day at a time.
As far as my spirituality goes, I was born in the Church of Christ, and I was raised a good kid. I was raised an honest kid. I was raised by a very good family, loving family. I didn't get off track until, like I said, I was 19. And I've always had God in my life. And as long as I've had God in my life and I kept God first in my life has always been okay. It was when I let God go that things started going wrong. And I couldn't turn to God when I was out using and drinking because I didn't feel like I didn't feel like I was worthy enough for him to be there. And that's when I really should have turned to him the most. There was a lot of times I OD'd. I actually died, and they had to use the shock treatments on me, and I came back. And there was an instance where I OD'd on cocaine for 14 hours. I was in convulsions, and they couldn't call 911 because they couldn't get to the phone. They couldn't let me go. But it had to be God that saved me, and there's a reason why I'm here. God has been there for so many times. There's so many times I shouldn't have been there that I am here, and God is on a daily basis helps me get through and He gives me the strength to not take another drink or not want to take another drug. He helps me deal with a lot of my emotional problems. He opens doors that I never thought would have been open or that I could never have opened. Today, God is everything to me. Without Him, I'd have nothing. He's the only one that's pulled me through all my medical problems. He's the only one that can pull me through anything. But I also know that He says that He'll never have anything. He'll never tempt us with anything that we can't bear. And so I keep that in my mind on a daily basis. That no matter what happens to me, that I can take it because God said I can take it. And I don't ever want to lose that spirituality that I have with my God, because the last time I did, I seen where it took me. I pray on a daily basis. I read my Bible on a daily basis. I go to church on a daily basis, and I talk to God all day long, it doesn't matter where I'm at or what I'm doing. But I never forget that God is the one that brought me here. He's the only one that has brought me as far as I am.
A rocky road, a heavy load, got you wondering if you'll ever get over. Your journey's slow, your faith is low, and you're wondering who will take the time to get you back on your feet, turn your bitter to sweet. Jesus.
You've been listening to The Bottom Line featuring Donna Kay's story. Thanks, Donna, for a great story. I know this wasn't easy for you, and I appreciate you sharing your experience, strength, and hope. By the way, Donna's story really is a true story of a recovering alcoholic addict, and she's living proof that you can stay sober one day at a time if you just work the steps. That's the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. This show has been produced for Armed Forces Radio Worldwide. I'm Gary Thiemann. Until next time, God bless you, and share the message, won't you? This has been a GRT production.